Evening all, welcome back to Space Engineers. So we're building our kind of mighty smash and grab getaway vehicle. It needs a Subaru Impreza badge and then it would be pretty much a good villain's car. Apologies if you drive a Subaru Impreza. Actually no, I'm not, because if you do drive a Subaru Impreza, you're probably a getaway driver and you're already way too cool. So we're building something here that I think is again designed to be a kind of leech, a parasite if you will, something that you basically would get locked onto a enemy ship and then use it to kind of control that ship. Now what generally you find is that we ships come into the system and they're traveling about 20 meters a second, right? And so what you need to be able to do is to obviously match that speed, dock with them ideally. So the docking on this is incredibly elegant. It's all at the front and you just have to get one of them set, although we haven't done that yet, but you'll see what I mean. And in essence, you can then kind of carry along with the ship. But some of the ships you grab are actually really light. They're actually just probably almost as heavy as what I'm building here, believe it or not. So having the ability to have quite a powerful set of engines is of benefit, because then I can actually take all of the engines off and then use this vehicle's engines to start pushing the thing away from the spawn area and set it to about 30-40 meters a second, then uncouple and then stop and then watch this thing wave off into the distance. And that's kind of the dream as well. The idea. But I guess it's because I'm kind of hoping that it works. Most of the things I build in this game kind of work. They generally tend to have issues at some point, and I think that's kind of the issue that I have with it, is that eventually some stuff just doesn't work, and I'm really hoping this one does, because I do enjoy mining, and I should be quite clear on that point. I actually do enjoy the mining of this game phenomenally. But I guess my issue with it is it's not, it's boring. Okay, there you go, I said it. It can be a bit boring. And I think, using mining missiles, that's definitely needed. And I think just things like that, the ability just to literally, lamp onto a rock and then drive it into the reactor's door. I mean, I just want to do that. I don't want to mine it into little bits. Just get a rock and fire it at the reactor, and the reactor then goes nyom and eats it and then shits out all of the minerals. I don't know, maybe not. But I think, at the end of the day, you've got to do something that gives you these parts. And I think a lot of what I'm trying to do at the moment is build, in essence, a kind of vehicle that I can use to go and salvage with. And I like that. I like the feeling that everything has a different function. So, for example, all the way from the start, I've mined, and my mining vehicles have been red, and my mining zone on my ship is also red, color-coded. So we'll probably color-code this as well. I think, this will be something akin to that, because I do want to make something like that. But we'll see. I think, really a lot of the game is just about deciding the kind of wacky, crazy things you want to do, and then going and doing them. And I think for me, this kind of little, I don't know, it's like a little platform, a little sled, my looting sled. That's kind of all it is. And it's just there to mean that it's just a great big cargo carrier, really, in reality. That's all it is. But the benefit of it, obviously, is extreme, because I can loot huge amounts with this one little vehicle. That's actually probably the best thing about it. As I recharge, because recharging is everything, energy is everything, life is everything, blah, 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 we then get to the point where we can start to finish the engines. Now, the engines aren't looking too bad. Because again, I'm putting 2 thrusters on each. I've got 2 gyroscopes as well, so there's a fair bit of redundancy in each of these systems, which again I would say is absolutely critical, because what you generally find is you can make a bad move, you then knock the ship, and your ship then something gets broken off, and if you lose an engine in one direction, your ship's entirely screwed. It's listing and you've got a problem. But there we go, that's looking pretty sweet. Always try and keep the profile of the build relatively sleek as well, because you don't really want to put a anything protruding that is going to get caught as well. Now I did this with engines before. In fact, I was quite stupid. I put quite a few engines on that were just kind of stupidly done. But again, we're going to put dual systems. We're actually going to put 4 retros, because we've got 2 large engines, so it makes sense to have 4 small. Retroing from the front, because you obviously want to slow down. Most of the time that I've died has been because I've not had powerful enough retros. And as everybody will tell you, your forward and backward thrust is all that matters. So what we're going to be doing is then looking, obviously, for what we're trying to achieve here is that kind of special looting capability for some of these more rare modules, like the thrusters, like solar panels. Now, one of the key things I'm really hoping to do soon is build a station, a static station that we can actually dock these ships at to recharge and, you know, gain benefit from. And I think that's going to be something we're going to look into. So I need a lot of solar sails. So I'm really quite keen to get some of the solar panels looted, because, you know, the solar components are so goddamn expensive on gold. It's almost impossible to see how on earth they can be done. So there we go. Anyway, it's launched, it's out, it's working. It's quite nimble as well. It's a bit of a nimble little minx, this thing. I think that's kind of by design. Now, as I start to do this, I realize that's boring. What I'm doing here is boring. I don't like it. It's boring, it's boring, it's boring, because I don't like it's not right. When you have a really good, in fact, it looks stupid now, look at it. But anyway, when you do the docking clamps to these things, it should be set so that it's obviously multi-directional. It should also be multi-situational, so you can actually, you know, land on angled surfaces as well. And 2 just doesn't do it. So we're going to make that a little bit more, I guess, complex, but, you know, in other words, elegant, because that's kind of the plan. So we're just going to move this around, and we're going to put a light in here as well. But these are just the finishing touches. But I tell you what, they become bloody important, and I think that's probably worth bearing in mind. Now, as you can see, I'm trying to make something a bit maybe more complex than it needs to be. So let me just remove all these, and oh, a few parts just disappeared into space. What we're going to do is we're going to make it in kind of like a circular, I guess, circular format, and you'll see what I mean in just a moment, because again, what you want to have that kind of comfort of is that if you approach something from a funny angle, you're going to latch on to something. And I've had it no end of things before where the landing gear actually gets ripped off. So as you see, we're going to do a bit more of an interesting pattern. There we go. That's looking a bit more, there we go. So that's, I mean, again, it looks a bit weird, but it just gives you more coverage. There's more unit area of space that I can actually gain benefit from there. So that's the plan, that's the idea. I didn't want the retros also to be too near anything they can damage, so that should also be, you know, check on our checklist of things that have been done. And as I look around, I think this is looking pretty, well, this is pretty much done. So now I think we need to go and test this thing. Firstly, we need to probably put some tools in the back, because obviously we haven't got any tools, as in guns and ammo and things like that, but, you know, we can do that. And then I think really the key one here is obviously a light's quite important, so let's just get that done. But I think the key thing here is let's just go and start looting with it. Look at that, it's finished. Our mighty ship is ready for a test drive. And look how quickly I did that. I know in your terms it's been 2 days of videos, but in reality that probably took me 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, maybe. And there we go. So we're now going to launch towards the mining hauler. Join us next time as we kill and murder and destroy and steal. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.